Aaron Hale had always thought of himself as an ordinary soldier. He followed orders, kept his gear clean, and tried his best not to make trouble. He never imagined that a single mission one he expected to be routine would become something that would change not only his life, but the fate of two civilizations. The mission began on Vega 14, a quiet, unremarkable moon that circled a gas giant glowing orange in the distance. The Terran coalition believed the moon was empty. It had a breathable atmosphere, strange forests filled with tall blue trees, and soft white soil that felt like flour beneath the boots. The scientists had described it as peaceful, stable, and safe. Aaron wished he had known that peaceful places often hide the biggest surprises. He and his squad were sent there on a simple reconnaissance job: map the area, scan for unusual energy readings, and return home. Nothing dangerous, nothing dramatic, just another day. But from the moment Aaron stepped onto the moon's surface, he felt something strange. The air carried a faint hum, like a soft vibration only half heard. The trees swayed even when there was no wind, and sometimes, in the corner of his eye, he thought he saw lights drifting between the branches glowing, moving shapes that vanished whenever he turned his head. He mentioned it to his squad leader, but she only shrugged and said the planet probably had some kind of natural bioluminescence. "Don't worry about it," she said. "Focus on the scanners." Aaron tried, but the feeling stayed with him. The first sign of real trouble appeared in the form of dark clouds rolling over the horizon. They moved quickly, like something was pushing them from behind. In minutes, the sky shifted from bright blue to deep purple, and the air pressure dropped so suddenly that Aaron's ears popped. "Storm incoming!" Someone shouted. A typical storm would not have been a problem they had gear to handle, but this storm was different. The clouds sparked with green streaks of light. The first clap of thunder sounded more like a metal sheet being struck than ordinary thunder. Before the squad could take cover, a wave of electrical energy washed over the landscape. The pulse hit their suits first. Screens flickered. Navigation trackers blinked off. Communication links failed with a soft static pop. Aaron grabbed the side of his helmet, tapping the controls again and again, but nothing worked. "Stay close," the squad leader yelled, but her voice faded quickly as the storm grew louder. The winds turned wild, bending the tall trees like blades of grass. Dust blew through the air so thick that Aaron could barely see his own hands. In the confusion, shapes moved in the fog shadows of his squad, but the storm twisted sound and sight until he could not tell where anyone was. He called out, but the roar drowned his voice. A branch cracked somewhere behind him. Something else, perhaps a rock or a piece of equipment, slammed into the ground nearby with a dull thud. Aaron stumbled backward, searching for a landmark. But the whole forest looked the same: endless blue trunks, swirling dust, and drifting lights. A sudden flash hit the ground right behind him. Not lightning exactly, something softer, like a beam of energy. The impact shook the ground under his boots, and before he could steady himself, the soil beneath him collapsed. He fell through the ground. The drop was short, maybe 10 or 12 feet, but enough to knock the breath from his lungs. Soft, glowing moss cushioned most of the impact, glowing under him like a cushion of warm light. He groaned and slowly sat up, rubbing his head. Above him, the hole he had fallen through was now covered by swirling dust. The storm noise faded, replaced by a low hum that echoed through the cavern around him. The place was beautiful, that was his first thought. Even as he tried to catch his breath, the cavern stretched far into the distance, filled with pillars of crystal that shone with gentle blue and purple light. The moss gave the area a soft glow, and the air smelled faintly sweet. Like blooming flowers. Aaron climbed to his feet, brushing off his suit. There was no sign of his squad. His helmet still wasn't working, and he had no idea how to climb back up the sandy wall the storm had collapsed. Still, he wasn't the type to panic. "One thing at a time," he murmured. He tested his radio. No signal. He checked his location tracker. Nothing but blank screens. He sighed. Great. The cavern wasn't dark, so he started exploring. Maybe there was another opening. Maybe the cavern led somewhere close to the surface. As he walked, the hum grew louder, rhythmic, almost like breathing. He paused, listening. The sound was definitely alive, but steady and calm. It didn't feel threatening, just mysterious. Aaron continued forward until he reached a huge chamber. Tall crystal structures rose all around him, forming a circle like a natural cathedral. In the center was a pool of shimmering silver liquid. Above it floated thin strands of white light drifting like ribbons. He didn't know it. What? He had stumbled into a sacred Visari chamber. He took a step closer, studying the strange pool. The surface rippled gently as if responding to his presence. His suit sensors picked up faint energy readings, but without proper calibration. He couldn't tell if it was dangerous. Just as he turned to leave, something moved behind the crystals. He froze. A tall figure emerged. Graceful. Slender, covered in soft silver patterns that glowed like moonlight. Her eyes were bright violet and her expression was calm. Though surprised, Aaron had read reports about the Visari species, but this was the first time he had ever seen one. They were known for their peaceful rituals and advanced energy-based biology. But they were also extremely private, especially about their sacred sites. He raised his hand slowly to show he meant no harm. She studied him in silence. The ribbons of light drifted around her, almost like they were responding to her heartbeat. Aaron stepped back carefully, trying not to disturb anything. "I'm sorry," he whispered, even though she likely didn't understand his language. Just then, another pulse of storm energy, one that had traveled underground, rushed through the cavern. The crystals flickered. The ribbons of light twisted suddenly, striking the ground with a soft flash. The alien queen, though Aaron didn't know she was royalty, yet lost her balance. The energy around her surged wildly. Aaron acted without thinking. He reached into his emergency kit, grabbed the medical stabilizing gel, and rushed forward. It wasn't designed for alien biology, but it was the only tool he had. He applied it to the energy wound glowing on her arm, hoping it would calm the instability. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything did. The crystal chamber lit up with a warm white glow. The ribbons of light circled them both, merging with the gel and the energy patterns on her skin. A soft shockwave rippled outward. It didn't feel painful, just strange. It's like a gentle vibration passing through the air. Then the chamber went quiet again. The alien queen looked at him confused, startled but unharmed. The energy on her arm had stabilized. Aaron let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. "You're okay," he said softly. But he had no idea that the resonance they had just triggered together was something ancient, sacred, and entirely unpredictable. Something that would change everything that came after. Aaron never expected that helping the strange alien woman who he still didn't know was a queen would become the beginning of something even more unusual. He had acted on instinct, just trying to keep someone safe. But now he was deep underground, completely lost. No working equipment, and no idea how to return to his squad. The alien woman, tall and graceful, watched him with curious eyes. Her injured arm now glowed with soft, steady light instead of flickering energy. She touched the place where he had applied the medical gel and tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to understand how a human device could affect Visari energy. Aaron stepped back, giving her space. He didn't know what the rules were in this sacred place. He didn't want to disrespect anything or anyone. She took one gentle step toward him. Aaron lifted his hands again, not in fear, just in caution. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I promise." She responded with a calm gesture, slow movement of her hand across her chest. It was elegant, almost ceremonial. Aaron guessed it meant peace or gratitude. The ribbons of white light, drifting around the chamber, slowly faded back into the air. The crystals dimmed to their natural glow. The entire room seemed to settle. Aaron let out a long breath. "Okay, maybe things are finally calming down." He was wrong. A group of figures appeared at the entrance of the Chamber 6 Visari, each wearing smooth silver armor that glowed faintly in the darkness. Their faces were calm but alert, their eyes focused on both the Queen and on Aaron. Aaron raised his hands again. Hello." They didn't respond verbally, but their postures tightened. The tall woman said something softly in her language. Her voice was melodic, like flowing water. Whatever she said made the guards pause. Their expressions shifted from defensive alertness to concern. One guard approached her, examining her arm, then looked at Aaron with deep confusion. Clearly, something unusual had happened, something the guards didn't expect. The queen spoke again, more firmly this time. The guard stepped aside and gestured for Aaron to follow. He swallowed nervously. Yeah, I guess I don't have much of a choice. The guards didn't drag him or threaten him. They simply walked around him in a loose formation, guiding him through glowing tunnels. It was more like escorting a very confused guest than capturing someone. Still, Aaron stayed cautious. He didn't know their intentions, and he didn't want to misunderstand anything. As they moved deeper through the caves, he studied the environment. The tunnels were lined with crystal veins. Gentle lights pulsed inside the stone, like flowing streams of energy. The air was warm and carried a soothing scent. Like fresh rain mixed with flowers, Aaron touched one of the crystal walls lightly. It hummed under his fingers, responding to his warmth. The guard beside him watched but didn't stop him. They emerged into a massive cavern shaped like a long hall. More Visari stood there, scholars in flowing robes, healers with shining wristbands, and two elders whose silver markings glowed more brightly than anyone else's. Their expressions were a mix of curiosity, concern, and surprise. When the queen stepped forward, the room immediately grew quiet. Everyone bowed their heads except Aaron, who looked around awkwardly, unsure what he was supposed to do. The guards gently nudged him, showing him a small bowing motion, and Aaron copied it quickly. The queen spoke to the group. Her words echoed softly, carrying warmth and calmness. The scholars listened intently, then turned their eyes toward Aaron with fascination. One scholar stepped closer to him and raised a translator device. The small crystal inside it pulsed with a gentle light. After a few seconds, it emitted a soft chime. The scholar spoke carefully, and the device converted the sound into English. "Human traveler," the voice said. "Her Grace wishes to understand what happened in the sacred room." Aaron blinked, surprised that he could understand them now. "I didn't mean to enter it. The storm knocked me underground. I was just trying to help her because, well, she looked hurt." The translator repeated his words in the Visari language. The room shifted with soft murmurs. The scholar continued. "Her Grace says the energy resonance that occurred is highly unusual. It has never been recorded between our kinds." "I didn't know it would do anything," Aaron said honestly. "I just used the stabilizing gel. It's a standard human emergency tool." More murmurs. The queen stepped closer, speaking firmly. The translator hesitated, as if processing her words with difficulty, then delivered the message. "She says the energy response should not have been possible." Aaron frowned. "Well, it happened anyway. Maybe it was just bad timing, or weird timing." The queen's expression softened, but the scholars and elders looked troubled. They whispered to one another in quick, flowing words. One elder finally spoke through the translator. "The Visari honor our sacred spaces. No outsider has ever entered one. What you experienced with Her Grace is not simply an accident. It is a resonance, a connection between energies." Aaron squinted. "Like a reaction." "In a way," the elder replied, "but far deeper. Our rejuvenation cycles are delicate. They are meant to align with Visari energy only. The presence of human biology should have made alignment impossible." "Al, I'm human," Aaron said with a shrug. "And nothing burned or exploded, so that's good." A few scholars exchanged confused glances. Humor didn't seem to translate well. The queen stepped closer to Aaron. Her violet eyes held no fear or anger. Instead, she studied him as if trying to understand something important. She placed a hand softly over her own chest, then gently extended it. Toward him, Aaron hesitated, looking at the guards. None of them reacted. Slowly, carefully, he lifted his hand and touched hers. A soft glow bloomed around their joined hands, gentle, calm, warm. Gasps filled the cavern. The scholars stepped closer, fascinated. The elder's expressions turned from confusion to deep thought. Aaron pulled his hand back, startled. Okay, that wasn't me. I didn't do anything. The translator device played the Queen's voice. She says you are not at fault. She says the energy is responding on its own. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Responding to what? The Queen answered immediately. To you? That left Aaron speechless. The scholars examined his hands with small crystal scanners. Gentle lights floated around him like soft butterflies. They hummed softly, reading his energy, and floated back to the Queen and circled her too. The devices glowed warmly. The elder's eyes widened. This has never happened in our history. Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The translator paused, then responded, We do not know yet. That didn't help his nerves at all. The Queen motioned to the guards, who approached Aaron not aggressively, but protectively. The Queen said something softly to him, and the translator delivered the message. You will not be harmed. You are under our protection now. Aaron blinked. Your protection? Why? The Queen stepped closer, her expression gentle but serious. Because, the translator said, your energy is now connected to mine, and we must understand why. Aaron stared at her, stunned. He had come here on a simple mission. Now he was somehow linked to the leader of an alien civilization, and neither of them knew what the connection meant. But one thing was clear. His life would never be simple again. For the next several days, Aaron remained in the Visari underground city, a place filled with glowing halls, soft crystal lights, and peaceful humming energy that seemed to live inside the walls. Even though he was far from home and had no way to contact his squad, he wasn't treated like a prisoner. The Visari acted more like careful hosts who were studying a rare mystery. Everywhere he walked, small groups of Visari whispered gently, their glowing patterns shifting with emotion. Some were curious. Some were simply surprised every time they saw him. Humans and Visari had never been close. They avoided conflict, yes, but they also avoided contact. And now a human soldier was walking through one of their holiest places. Aaron didn't know whether to feel honored or overwhelmed. He spent most of his time in a large crystal garden where the air felt warm and calming. Visari healers took readings from him regularly. They used floating discs that hovered near his hands, shimmering with soft light. Sometimes they asked him to hold glowing crystals. Sometimes they asked him to simply sit still and breathe while they checked the energy around him. None of it hurt. None of it felt threatening. But it all made him wonder what exactly had happened in that sacred room. Meanwhile, Queen Lyrithe remained close by. She watched the examinations patiently, sometimes studying the readings herself. Her presence always seemed to bring calm to the room. The other Visari respected her deeply. They bowed when she entered and spoke softly around her. Aaron still found it hard to believe that the woman he had helped was actually their queen. One morning, the Queen motioned for him to follow her. She led him through a long tunnel, decorated with silver vines, and into another circular chamber. Scholars and elders were already waiting inside. A large crystal sphere floated in the center of the room, slowly spinning. The translator device hummed as one elder spoke. We have completed the first part of our study. We wish to share the results with you. Aaron nodded nervously. Okay, what did you find? The elder placed his hand on the floating sphere. It brightened, showing swirling blue and white lights inside. We detected an energy pattern around her grace. The moment you entered the sacred chamber, but after she touched you, that pattern changed. Aaron frowned. Changed how? The scholar beside the elder raised another crystal and spoke. Your presence created a resonance. A shared pattern. Human and Visari energy moving together in a way we have never seen. Aaron scratched his head. Is that dangerous? No, the elder said. Not dangerous. Just impossible. Or rather, what was once believed impossible. The Queen stepped closer and spoke. The translator followed with her message. She says the resonance is stable. It does not harm her. But it does connect her to you in a way we cannot yet explain. Aaron took a slow breath. So, this is all because I tried to help you? The translator responded with her voice. She says yes. You acted from kindness. That intention affected the energy in the sacred space. Aaron didn't know what to say to that. He had only done what felt right, but then something unexpected happened. The crystal sphere changed its color. The swirling lights inside shifted from blue to soft green, forming shapes that pulsed gently. The scholars exchanged looks of surprise, then hurried closer. Scanning the sphere with glowing devices, one of them gasped softly. Another whispered something in the Vasari language. The energy in the room shifted. Even the queen looked thoughtful, as if sensing something new. Aaron stepped forward, worried. "What's happening now?" The elder spoke slowly, almost cautiously. "We have discovered something else." The sphere projected a soft image into the air to intertwine patterns of energy, one clearly human, the other Vasari. They spun around each other smoothly, blending at certain points. Aaron recognized his own energy signature. The Vasari had shown it to him many times during earlier tests. But the second pattern didn't belong to any ordinary Vasari. It matched the queen's pattern exactly. The elder touched his fingertips together and said, "We believe her grace is entering a state she should not be entering at this time." Aaron blinked. "I don't understand." The scholar took over. "The queen goes through a rejuvenation cycle once every many years. It is a gentle phase where her body restores strength. It is not supposed to react with outside energy. But when you reached out to help her, the cycle changed." The translator spoke again, this time slowly. The cycle did not stop. It advanced. The queen looked calm, but Aaron felt his heart grow heavier. "Advanced? That sounds serious." The scholar shook his head. "Not dangerous. Just new. The energy alignment suggests the beginning of something extremely rare." The elder lifted his hand to the sphere. A new pattern appeared, something small, forming gently within the swirling lights. "This shape," he said, "should not exist yet, but it does." Aaron stared at the shape inside the projection. It was like a tiny spark, glowing softly, repeating a rhythmic pulse. Aaron pointed at it. "Is that something alive?" The room grew quiet. A healer stepped forward. Not fully formed, not conscious, just beginning, but alive in the way energy life begins. Aaron's confusion deepened. "Are you saying?" The elder's voice was gentle and slow. "We believe her grace has entered early gestation." Aaron's mind went blank for a moment. "Gestation, as in?" The scholar spoke carefully. "As in she is carrying a new life." Aaron felt the world tilt slightly. "But that's impossible. We're not even the same species." The elders nodded. "Yes, it is impossible. And yet the energy readings do not lie." The queen stepped closer to Aaron, placing her hand softly over her heart. Her expression was calm, accepting, peaceful. The translator played her message. "She says the new life is not fully Vasari, nor fully human. It is a hybrid of energy from both." Aaron took several slow breaths. This can't be real. I didn't do anything. It was just the gel." "And the storm?" "And she understands," the translator said. "She says you are not responsible by choice. It was an accident shaped by energy forces we do not yet know." Aaron slowly sat down on a smooth crystal ledge, trying to process everything. A hybrid life? A queen involved? A sacred ritual interrupted? It felt like something out of a storybook. But the Vasari were not treating it like a story. They were treating it with deep seriousness. The elders continued speaking. "This child, if it continues to form, could become a symbol. Or a target. We do not know which." Aaron looked up sharply. "A target. Why?" "Not because of danger," the elder said quickly. "Just fear. Some Vasari fear change. Some humans fear anything unfamiliar. A child of two species is something the galaxy has never known."
Aaron
lowered his head. "I didn't ask for any of this, the elder said kindly. "Neither did her grace, but she does not regret it." The queen placed a gentle hand on Aaron's shoulder. The light around her fingers glowed softly, calming the tension inside him. Her presence always felt peaceful, like a quiet evening breeze. The translator spoke her words. "She says the life inside her is not a mistake. It is a new beginning, and she will protect it. Aaron looked up at her. Her expression was firm but kind. She wasn't afraid. He wished he could be as calm as she was. The elders bowed deeply to both of them. The scholars whispered new theories. The healers scanned the energy again, confirming the strange but peaceful pulse of forming life. This discovery would change everything. Aaron felt the weight of it, settling on his shoulders. He didn't know what the future would bring, but he sensed that his life had become tied to this new child, to the Queen, and to the Vasari people, and the galaxy would soon learn of something it had never seen before. Aaron had never thought his life would become so complicated. Only a short time ago, he was an ordinary soldier on a routine mission. Now, he was living inside a peaceful alien city, connected by energy to a queen who was carrying a life that should not have existed. Every day felt like a quiet wave of new challenges, questions, worries, and moments that changed him a little more. The Vasari welcomed him kindly, but the mood in the city had shifted. Whispers followed him through the glowing halls. Some Vasari bowed respectfully when they saw him, believing he was part of a rare event. Others looked at him with uncertainty, unsure what the hybrid child meant for their people. Even the glowing crystal walls seemed to hum with new energy, as if the entire city sensed what was coming. Meanwhile, Queen Laretha was calm and steady. She carried herself with elegance, her silver markings shining softly as she walked. She often checked on Aaron, making sure he was comfortable and understood what was happening. She treated him not as someone who caused trouble, but as someone connected to something special. One evening, she invited him to a quiet garden filled with floating light flowers. Each petal glowed with soft colors, pink, white, blue, and drifted gently through the air. The garden felt peaceful, like a warm dream. Aaron sat beside a small fountain while the Queen stood near him. Watching the petals swirl, the translator hummed as her message played. She says the energy within her is growing. The new life responds gently to her emotions. Atta! Aaron gave a small smile. That sounds kind of beautiful. She says it is, the translator added. But beauty wasn't the whole story. The next morning, Aaron woke to a strange feeling in the air. The city seemed unusually quiet. The glowing lights dimmed slightly, and the hum in the crystal walls felt tense, as if they were holding their breath. He stepped outside his guest room, where two guards waited. They were polite, but their expressions were serious. One guard spoke through the translator. "Her Grace requests your presence. There is something important you must hear." Aaron followed them through winding corridors until they reached a council chamber. Inside, elders, scholars, and advisors stood in a circle. Their patterns glowed brighter than usual, a sign of deep thought and concern. The Queen stood in the center, calm as always. An elder spoke first. "We have received messages from the outer Vasari cities. Some leaders celebrate the news of a new life. They believe it may bring unity." Aaron nodded slowly. "That's good, right?" The elder's expression softened. "Yes, very good." But then his tone changed. "However, some others are unsure. They do not understand the energy connection between you and Her Grace. They fear change." Aaron felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Fear, but nothing bad is happening," the scholar replied gently. "Sometimes people fear what they do not understand, even when no danger exists." Aaron understood that too well. Humans did it often. Another elder stepped forward. "Some Vasari advisors wish to meet you. They want assurance that you mean no harm." Aaron straightened. "Of course I don't. I only helped her because she was hurt." "Yes," the elder said, "but not everyone saw what you did. They only hear the story. Some stories change as they pass from person to person." Aaron sighed. "So what should I do?" The Queen raised her hand, and the room quieted. Her voice flowed like warm water, calm but firm. The translator conveyed her message. She says you do not need to defend yourself. She knows your heart. But she asks for your cooperation, because the child's energy responds to both of you. Aaron frowned slightly. "Responds how?" "She says your calmness helps keep the child's energy balanced, and your worry makes it unstable." Aaron froze, realizing the responsibility placed on him. So I need to stay calm for the child? The queen nodded gently, her silver markings glowing softly. Aaron took a deep, steady breath. I'll try my best. The challenges were far from over. Later that week, the city received a quiet message from outside. A group of Visari advisors wanted to visit the queen. They were not hostile, but they were extremely serious and cautious. They wished to understand the connection between the queen, the unborn hybrid, and the human soldier who had unexpectedly become part of their future. When the advisors arrived, the atmosphere in the city grew very still. They wore elegant robes decorated with bright silver lines. They carried themselves with dignity, stepping with slow, graceful movements. The queen welcomed them warmly. Aaron stood beside her, feeling nervous but trying to appear calm. One advisor stepped forward, spoke through the translator. We come with respect. We seek understanding. Aaron nodded. Ask anything you want. The advisor studied him closely. You acted to help her grace? Yes, Aaron answered. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know she was important. I only saw someone who needed help. The advisors glanced at each other. One of them softened slightly. A simple intention, and yet it changed everything. Another advisor stepped closer to the queen. Her Grace, do you feel safe with him? The queen answered without hesitation. Her voice carried no fear. She says yes. She feels peace when he is near. The advisors bowed respectfully. This response seemed to ease their concerns, but the situation grew more complicated when a message arrived from the Terran coalition. Aaron's own people. The Visari elder approached him gently. We have received communication from the human side. They ask about you. Aaron felt his heart beat faster. What did they say? They wish to know your condition. They worry you are lost. Aaron swallowed. Did you tell them I'm okay? We told them you are safe, the elder said. But we did not explain the whole situation. Not without your agreement. Aaron appreciated that deeply. Thank you, but they'll find out eventually. The queen stepped forward, her expression calm but serious. The translator echoed her message. She says the child's existence must be revealed with care, not with fear. Aaron nodded slowly. I understand. Humans can be just as scared of the unknown, maybe even more. The queen touched the glowing markings on her wrist, then gently reached toward Aaron. She placed her hand near his, and a soft glow formed between their palms. Peaceful, warm, reassuring. She says the child feels safer when both of you are near. Aaron looked at the glowing light and felt something warm rise in his chest, something like responsibility. Connection, maybe even hope. The Visari advisors watched them quietly, then finally spoke. We believe this child could bring unity, but unity requires trust, and trust requires time. Aaron nodded. I'm not going anywhere. The queen's eyes softened. But even with growing trust, there were still challenges ahead. A few days later, a gentle alarm tone echoed through the city. Not a dangerous alarm, but a message signal. A new update from the outer Visari colonies arrived. The elders gathered again, reading it carefully. Some Visari celebrated the news. Others felt unsure. A few leaders politely requested more information about the human presence. Nothing harmful. Nothing aggressive. Just confusion, hesitation. The queen looked at Aaron. She says this change will not be easy, the translator said. But she believes the child will bring understanding. Aaron nodded, feeling a strange mix of pressure and purpose. He wasn't just a lost soldier. Anymore, he was part of a new chapter for both species. In the quiet of the night, he sat again in the light flower garden, watching the glowing petals drift in the air. The queen joined him, sitting beside him in peaceful silence. Aaron spoke softly. Do you think everything will turn out okay? The queen placed a hand over her heart, then gently over her stomach. The translator whispered, she says she believes the future will become brighter, because new life always brings hope. Aaron looked up at the sky of glowing crystals above them. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to believe it too. The day the queen finally entered the last stage of her gestation cycle, the entire Visari capital felt completely different. The glowing towers seemed brighter, the floating gardens hummed softly, and even the usually stern guards moved with a sense of quiet expectation. It was as if everyone could feel that something important was about to happen. Something that would decide the future of two very different worlds. Aaron was not allowed inside the inner chamber where the queen was resting, but he waited in a nearby hall made of smooth stone and glowing patterns. He paced back and forth, unable to sit still. Even after months of preparation, cooperation, and careful scientific monitoring, he could not stop feeling nervous. He wanted everything to go right. He wanted the queen to be safe, and he wanted the baby to be healthy. He had never expected to care this much, but now, the thought of anything going wrong made his chest tighten. Visari healers walked calmly in and out of the chamber, their long robes flowing softly behind them. They never looked alarmed, which helped Aaron relax a little. Every time a healer passed by, he tried to read their expressions, hoping for a hint of what was happening. But Visari faces were different from human faces. Their expressions were gentle and subtle, so it was nearly impossible for him to know what they felt. While he waited, Aaron remembered the long journey that had brought them to this point. Months of careful cooperation between scientists, leaders, and both species had slowly turned confusion into understanding. The queen's gestation had been stable, but it was still new and unpredictable. Every week, small discoveries were made about how Terran and Visari biology had interacted. Some discoveries worried scientists at first, but then they learned how to adjust energy patterns, nutrition, and the queen's environment to make everything safe. Over time, something else had changed too. The Visari people, who had once viewed Aaron with suspicion and fear, now saw him as someone who had helped protect their queen and had never once shown aggression. Some still struggled with the idea of a hybrid child, but many had grown hopeful. They believed the child could become a symbol of unity instead of conflict. The doors opened again, and this time a healer stopped in front of him. "She asks for your presence," the healer said in a calm voice. Aaron's heart jumped. He followed them through the large doorway and stepped into the inner chamber. The room was filled with soft light that flowed across the walls like gentle waves. The queen lay on a raised platform, covered in glowing fabric that pulsed with soothing energy. She looked tired but peaceful. When she saw Aaron, her eyes warmed. "It is almost time," she said softly. Aaron nodded, unsure what to say. He felt honored that she wanted him there, even near the end of the process. She had told him earlier that the child reacted well to his presence, as if she recognized him somehow. The healers had explained it as a harmonic link, a gentle connection created early in the queen's cycle. He stepped closer and placed his hand against the energy field that surrounded her. Even though he could not touch her directly, she could feel the calming effect of his presence. The light around her changed color slightly. Glowing in soft shades of gold and blue, he stood there quietly while the healers continued their work, guiding the final moments of the queen's gestation cycle. The process was different from anything humans knew. It involved controlled energy flows, soft vibrations from the walls, and steady breaths from the queen as she followed ancient Visari techniques. Then, suddenly, a soft, gentle cry filled the air. It was not loud, but it was clear and warm, carrying an innocent melody that made Aaron's eyes sting with emotion. The healers worked quickly but carefully, lifting a small figure wrapped in glowing cloth. The queen reached out weakly, and they placed the newborn in her arms. Aaron could hardly breathe. The child was small, delicate, and beautiful, in a way he had never imagined. Her features were a soft blend of human and Visari traits. Her skin had a gentle shimmer, and her eyes, when she opened them, glowed with quiet light. She looked at the queen first, then turned her tiny head toward Aaron as if she sensed him. The queen smiled, tired but full of deep joy. "She is here," she whispered. "A new beginning." Aaron stepped closer, his voice barely steady. "She's beautiful," the queen nodded. "She carries the strength of two worlds. She will show our people that unity is not only possible, it can grow." The healers allowed Aaron to stand beside the queen while they examined the baby. Everything was healthy. The child's energy patterns were stable, and her small hands moved softly. exploring the new world she had entered. When the queen finally rested, the healers guided Aaron to hold the baby for a moment. He hesitated, afraid he might not know how, but the healer reassured him. "She will feel your calmness," they said. He gently accepted the tiny child, holding her carefully. She was warm and light. Her eyes blinked up at him, curious and peaceful. In that moment, he felt something shift inside him. A sense of responsibility, a sense of purpose. A connection he could not have predicted. Not long after, the news spread across the Vasari capital. People gathered in the open plazas, whispering, wondering, waiting for an official announcement. Terran representatives, who had been standing by nervously for days, also waited for confirmation. They all wanted to know the same thing: was the child safe? Hours later, the queen appeared in a public hall, supported by the healers, but standing strong. The baby was gently set in a cradle made of woven light. Aaron stood beside them as a symbol of cooperation. Together, they faced an audience filled with both hope and uncertainty. With a clear, soft voice, the queen addressed them. "Today, a child is born who carries the gifts of two civilizations. She is not a sign of conflict. She is a bridge, a reminder that understanding grows when we choose to listen instead of fear." Her words echoed throughout the hall. People listened closely. Many Vasari bowed their heads in respect. Terran delegates exchanged meaningful glances. Slowly, the tension that had once filled the air began to ease. Aaron watched as people stepped forward to offer blessings. Some Vasari placed glowing flowers near the child's cradle. Terran representatives spoke calmly about peace and cooperation. No one raised angry voices. No one argued. Instead, there was a quiet acceptance, even admiration, for the small life resting peacefully among them. The following weeks were filled with new discussions between Terran and Vasari leaders. They explored plans for cultural exchange, shared research, and long-term peace agreements. The hybrid child became a symbol on both sides, not of an accident, but of possibility. As for Aaron, the queen later offered him honorary Vasari citizenship. He accepted, though he also chose to continue serving as a connection between both species. He wanted to help build the peaceful future that the child represented. On quiet evenings, he visited the queen and the infant in the healing gardens. The child would always look toward him when he arrived, her glowing eyes bright with recognition. The queen often watched with a gentle expression filled with calm certainty. "This is only the beginning," she would say, "but it is a hopeful one." And every time Aaron looked at the small child who had changed everything, he believed it too.